everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show. I'm Nighthawk, one of your hosts. Then we got G from Midwest Night Watchers, and we'll have Dennis coming on momentarily after I make a few announcements and a few adjustments to the programming requirements. First off, we're going to do the disclaimer. This channel may use some copyrighted materials without specific authorization of the owner of the content used here falls under the Fair Use Act, of 1976. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107, subsections 17 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known as the Fair Use Act, makes allowances for fair use for purposes of such as criticism, parody, comment, news reporting, teaching, and research, and general knowledge only. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, and personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. In other words, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel claims fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for education, news reporting, teaching, and parody, research, and general knowledge only per Title 17 U.S.C. subsection 107 of the Fair Use Act of 1976. Okay. Furthermore, the Hawkeye Strangeness podcast channel uses UCut app and Splice for all of its advertising music and advertising needs because they're free, people. Free is good. Very seldom do you get things free in this world. Watch a minute commercial and get it free. All right, that's my ad for today. Actually, no, it isn't. I got a couple advertisements I'm going to put up beforehand and a couple things I want to discuss beforehand. Like these folks right here. Yes, it's Warp. Okay. We had a little problem, a little situation on our show last night. And, got all confugly and everything. And, thank goodness, the monitors and moderators were very, very well informed with the short notice that we had for being onsalted like this. But I just wanted everybody to know who exactly it was. There we go. They subscribed to our Twitch channel last night after all that they pulled, all the shenanigans that they pulled. And I'm just putting it out there that, if you all would like to visit these fine, outstanding citizens of our society today on their channels, you're more than welcome to. Hint, hint. That being said, or if you know them personally, give them a nice, strong bear hug from old Uncle Bill. Okay? So, that being said, I'm going to take that off of there. You all know who they are. And if you see them in the chat and they start up again, guess what's going to happen? Uncle Bill's not going to be happy. All right. Let's get that out there. Okay. Now, as I said last night, was a bit of a screwy night. We haven't had one of those. The funny thing about last night, and Dennis actually brought this up to me last night when we were talking at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 1:30 in the morning. He actually said, it's funny how these people got on there and our whole podcast without one audio issue and one video issue. It's like it miraculously got solved. So, maybe, just maybe, somebody put these people up to it. And I think that somebody knows who they are. Don't you? Yeah, I thought you did. Anyways, I'm going to bring my brothers and mothers on. We're going to start with the Grand Master himself, Mr. Dennis Carroll, and the Junior Grand Master, Mr. Midwest, otherwise known as Grandmaster G.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to what you were saying there. They definitely, we definitely know who they are too. I think, yeah, definitely. They know, we know that they know we know. Hey, Gerald, how you doing?
Yeah.
Good. Good morning.
All right.
Yeah, I just, I want to nip it in the bud right now and just put it out there that our chat, the family, the viewers know who they are, and if you see a name in the chat that seems like they might be up to something, just kind of keep an eye on them and make sure that they follow this rule, the fairness rule, the no bullying rule, and any other rule we can think of, because I don't like cussing, bullying, instigating. I don't even like insulting. As far as what they were doing last night. So, and I don't give a rat's ass if they point the insulting and stuff towards me, because it doesn't bother me. I'm a grown man. I can take it. I'm not a child or a juvenile like they are. So we're gonna leave it at that. Okay. Anyways, I thought an interesting subject to start off today, guys. Have you ever heard of the Shunkaworkin?
Oh yeah, the Shunkaworkin, yeah, very famous cryptid.
Okay. Dennis, if you want, can you enlighten Grandmaster G there on what the Shunkaworkin is, and then we'll get into what I think it possibly is, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, the Shunkaworkin actually is sort of like a dire wolf kind of a thing that's been described that way in some aspects. Supposed to be very large. There you go, sort of more of a chart there showing you what it would be compared to a regular sized black bear, probably. The Shunkaworkin goes back to many Native American legends, especially the Plains. The Plains Indians talked a lot about the Shunkaworkin. It was almost looked upon in some ways as a spiritual being too, but it was often described as a very large wolf, or sort of more like what I would say, sort of a mutational type of a wolf. I mean, it just wasn't a normal wolf. The Native Americans didn't look upon it as a normal wolf. It was something to be feared and to be careful about. So it has many legends are attributed to the Shunkaworkin. But like I said, it has the resemblance of a large wolf to a certain degree.
We're getting some feedback from somebody.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the Shunkaworkin has also been kind of lumped in sometimes with the cryptid known as the goat sucker, the chupacabra. But they're completely different things. You can't really compare them. Although some people have tried to link them up because they have supposedly killed some unknown type canines and claimed that they are Shunkaworkins, which I don't think they are. But some people have claimed that, and other people claim they're chupacabras, which I don't think they are that either. I think there may be some crazy hybrids out there. No, definitely, without a doubt, between coyotes, dogs, and wolves. There's no telling what's going on out there. We talked about earlier about those coyotes in California. They have a blue tinge to their coat and blue eyes. So you got some really strange creatures out there. Uh-huh.
Exactly. Now,
so Shunkaworkin,
I've got this chart up.
Here's my own personal view of the Shunkaworkin. I happen to think maybe could it possibly be a remnant left of the dire wolf, that the Native Americans encountered. That's what I think it may be
Yeah.
possibly linked to.
Yes, and I think that I'm going to take it one step further than that. Okay, the original Shunkaworkon, which the native people, especially of the plains and all that, dealt with in Canada. Um, the original stories of it were as big as a grizzly bear, walking upon all fours. The tales of it being able to walk on its hind legs periodically and even run at a good gait on its hind legs periodically could lead most people to believe that it was a form of a dire wolf that could stand up straight into a dog man. I'm going to go out on a limb there, and I'm going to say that it is inconclusive on that. But my opinion of the Shunkaworkon, dire wolf, and dogman being possibly the same cryptid, okay, without all the genetic,
Well, they looked upon
programs
it.
and
They
all
looked
that,
upon it
with all the genetic
in
programs and everything, and it's just one thing that I believe.
Well, in many aspects, William, they looked upon it as a spiritual being, a creature too, which is why they thought it could walk upright. They let me say this, and of course a lot of the indigenous peoples had bear gods. They had the bear god. They had certain entities that were bears, and they venerated the bear because it was one of the few animals that could actually stand on its hind legs and walk a pace. That was very interesting to them, because it could walk like a man when he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? And that carries over to the Shunkaworkon. They looked upon it in many aspects as being almost a spiritual creature. And I've always wondered about the connection between the dire wolf, the Shunkaworkon, and the dogman.
Yeah. Let me take that down now. I'm a firm believer that you go with your gut instinct for your overall conclusive opinion of something, and my gut instinct is that the Shunkaworkon and the dire wolf and the dogman are the same thing, that aren't genetically enhanced in any way, shape, or form, aren't mutated with some other cryptid, aren't genetically enhanced with the human DNA to make a super soul. I'm not talking that kind of crap. I'm talking the straightforward, naturally born and
supernatural,
environmentally raised.
It had aspects of the supernatural too, according to the indigenous peoples. It had kind of like the Wendigo, but not the same thing. But they attributed sort of supernatural powers to it. You just didn't want to mess. You didn't want to run into a Shunkaworkon. That was just one thing that they were very careful with. Of course, you wouldn't want to go face to face with Dogman either, for that matter, or Dire Wolf.
Exactly.
It might not come out good. It might not come out too good. But they kind of venerate. That's what got me about, because I've always liked the folklore and the anthropological part of it, the belief system, and they looked upon this thing in many aspects as spiritual to them. It was just something they didn't even talk about the Shunkaworkon that much. They didn't really want to really get into it. It's not like the Skinwalker. They didn't really want to mention the Shunkaworkon that much. What do you think about that, Joe?
Well, I don't really know much about that one, other than I know of dire wolves, but sounds interesting. I mean, there has to be tales or lores of it, especially if it's a spiritual being.
Well, a lot of the primitive peoples attributed supernatural, things to certain entities that they didn't understand. That's human. To say, hey, there's something special about this. This is not your run of the mill thing. And that's another thing that sticks out about the Shunko Working, you know. They knew it was something different. It was something that wasn't part of, I don't think, their natural order of things, like a wolf pack or a bear or whatever the case might be, a wolverine or whatever. They knew the animal, they knew the wildlife, so they kind of looked upon this as something special. It was something out of the, I'm almost not say the ordinary, but it was something that they venerated that way. You know, that's what made me kind of sit up and take notice of it, because they thought it was something special. You know.
I'm wondering if there was any reports of it being like a shapeshifter or be able to change into human form or any other kind of forms.
Well, there may be some. There's some legends in certain tribes about things like that. Here's the interesting thing about it, Gerald. Throughout the cultures of the world, whenever you talk about these unusual creatures, 9 times out of 10 they will attribute shapeshifting to them, just like the werewolf, the were-tigers, the were-apes in Africa, et cetera, et cetera. They attribute supernatural powers to them as shapeshifters. But and we talked about this a couple of shows back. The premier thing, even if you're a spiritual creature or alien or whatever you may be, the premier thing that man could never do, man wanted to fly like the birds, but he finally got that because he invented the airplane, you know. But he couldn't, you know. You remember Icarus that made the wings and flew too close to the sun? So man has tried to be like, man has always looked upon that gift of shapeshifting as something really special. Hey, boy, I wish I could do that. Kind of a thing. And the ancient peoples thought about that way too. This is something special, you know. And I don't know too many. What do you think, William? I haven't heard too many legends of shapeshifting attached to the Shunka Working.
No, but do you remember that that picture a while back we posted on the website of the bear with the deer antlers coming out of its head?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now we all thought that might possibly be the signs of a shapeshifter, and we just caught it like transforming from one creature to another. But you know, that is probably a little bit extreme for the Shunka Workon. See, the Shunka Workon's been misconstrued too as at first when native children were carried off, we always assumed that it was basically the Shunka Workon doing it, and come to find out after periods of times, we realized that the children that were taken, that were retrieved, were telling the native people that it was a bear-like man, not a dog. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. I don't think the Shunka Workon can be anything but it is naturally, unless mankind gets its hands on it and tries to genetically manipulate it in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah, and wouldn't that make a great a weapon? Think about it, you know. The natural aspect of it just alone would be something to have on your side.
Yep, definitely.
Now, was there any reports of them being like during hard times or disasters, or they just come in and take the children?
Well, you know, that's been a thing, you know, all through history with children, you know, disappearing and stuff like that. That's even been attributed to the fairies, you know, taking children off. But the different stories on that. That was a problem back in time, just like it still is today. You have people have been disappearing since mankind has existed. Look at Enoch in the Bible. Said, you know, he walked with God, and God took him, and he was not. He was just gone. He vanished. You know. So you had that all through history, and that right, William? You know, people that disappeared, but there was a reason why they disappeared. You know.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of unknown reasons they disappeared too. Which we could chalk it up to. You could chalk it up to the ancient alien thing too. I mean, if you really want to get technical with it, and you know, G knows, and Dennis, from your own research, that you know we aren't really the only ones around that walk on two legs. And I put that out to everybody in the chat. You need to broaden your mind when you're looking at things. Now, to me, if anything was a shapeshifter to try and trick the eyes of man, because we only see on a limited scale on the whole spectrum of sight, I could see an alien species wanting to do that, wanting to pretend to be Bigfoot, wanting to pretend to be the Shunka Waricon, wanting to pretend to be Dog Man, wanting to pretend to be Goat Man, wanting to pretend to be human. That's what I could see happening. And again, all fingers point back to the reptilians. I mean, that's basically what
But
in a nutshell.
in the cultures of the world and the folklore and legends and tales, we've had a thing about these wolves. You know, like Romulus and Remus. They were raised by wolves. There's been a thing about wolves. Man has always had an uneasy, I'm not going to say alliance, but an uneasy relationship with wolves and bears too, for that matter. And you look at some of. I was just thinking about that story in the Bible where Elijah was in a village, and these children, they were mean children. They were a bunch of little punks, okay, little thugs, and they came out and they were just giving him a hard time, and they were preventing Elijah from going where he was supposed to go. God sent him there. And all of a sudden, a bear came out of the bushes and killed all of them, got rid of them. They took away that stumbling block for it. They were calling him Baldy and all kinds of stuff. They were mean to it. And so you've had that go on a lot in history. You hear a lot about these animal attacks and stuff like that. So that's the first thing you think about. And the natives would think about that too. A child turns up mission. What happened? Did a bear get them? A wolf get them? You immediately started looking for the child, of course, and of course, being excellent trackers, they knew how to track these animals, maybe, and even find the remnants of what they took off. If they didn't find the child alive, unfortunately, would find the remains. So, that had to be an everyday problem with it. Watch your children, watch them close. And William knows this. They didn't even allow the women to go out alone. Which is another thing about the Sasquatch. Supposedly kidnapped human women to mate with them. So they didn't even allow the women to go out alone as a kid. So that was just part of life then. Just like it is today. You have to keep an eye on your kids today. You better. Because there's a lot of predators out there. There may be not dire wolves or Shunka Worgen out there, but there are definitely some predators that will get your children.
Now, if either of you out there or anybody in the chat can think of one cryptid alone that you would put at the top of your list, that if you could have an encounter with, what would that cryptid be? Which would that cryptid be? Which one? Just a curious question to see, what people think.
I would vote for Dog Man. I've already seen Bigfoot.
Yeah,
that's true, Laurie.
Yeah,
that's true, Laurie.
I've actually had encounters with both.
The wolf does not. The lion and the tiger perform in the circus, but the wolf does not. They're too wild.
Yeah, thank you, Raven Creek. I appreciate that. Just I'm just under the impression that there's more to the sightings than what meets the eye. There can't be this many large game predatorial apex predator species out there in America, not even mentioning the rest of the world, but in America solely. It's got to be a shape-shifting being for the majority of the sightings, because if I was an apex predator, I'm going to be where the game is, the easiest game to get, okay, with less fight, and I'm going to be hidden. I'm not going to be walking out in an open field, to say, hey, here I am, look at me, I'm 9 foot tall and hairy. I don't believe it. That's the way it works. I believe it if it's the beings are aliens doing it.
Another thing is you'd be by a body of water. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You stay near water because you got to have water to live.
Yeah, but you can get water in nature.
9 times out of 10, if you're gonna encounter something like that, it's gonna be around or close to a body of water. That's where
there's all
the
kinds of
wildlife.
underground streams.
Well, that's where all the wildlife eventually comes, anyway. Water.
But there's all kinds of underground streams, Dennis. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the body of water has to be on top of the land. We have an underground stream that goes right underneath our place, and it's big enough to supply about 950 people. So, I mean, that's a pretty good sized stream. So,
I know if I were in the wild, and I had to live in the wild, I'd live by a body of water because that'd be very convenient to what And I think some of these cryptids are smart. They're smarter than people think they are. I think they're not stupid. They're very, very intelligent, I think.
Yeah. Now the short-faced bear, that's a good one. That's another one that's been known to walk on its hind legs, and been sighted in Alaska and parts of the Yukon Territory, from what I understand. But I really, I mean, I think that it's a possibility of being around. I mean, they say in certain remote parts of Alaska that there's woolly mammoths still walking around out there, setting off the seismograph, indicating equipment that they have set out there to listen to the earthquakes and stuff, and to the volcanoes.
And look at the Kodiak. Look at the Kodiak bear. They thought for a while that the Kodiak bear had gone extinct, but there's a lot of them in Alaska, more than they thought. Just because you think something's not there doesn't make it not be there. That's like the thylacine in Australia, the Tasmanian tiger. I had a woman tell me one night, one ran across the road in front of her. She said, I know what it was. I've seen pictures of it before. I know exactly what it was. It had the stripes on its back end and all that, just like the thylacine, just because some people say, oh, I think it's extinct, it doesn't exist anymore, that don't make it true.
Right. Exactly.
I'll tell you what I've seen with my own eyes, and I'll say this. I've seen a bear walk as well as you and I for a long, long distance. Not just get down just a little piece or something, but you see them do a lot too. But I mean, it walked. There was something wrong with it because it could not get down on all fours. But it could walk on 2 legs just as well as you and I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd be surprised. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I really do think, a lot of these cryptids are either, aliens or reptilians, that are disguising themselves as that or changing into them so that we'll think there's some kind of anomaly in nature. So, it doesn't draw attention to themselves and they can do whatever they want and go in and out of our society.
Yeah, if I were going to shapeshift, I'd shapeshift into something scary so you'd leave me alone.
True. Very true. Very. All right. There's another person that loves wolves. All right.
Yeah, that's the thing I've had about, and I've talked to a lot of people about these wolf dogs. Um, you cannot breed out the wild nature of an animal. You just can't breed it out. It's ingrained in them. It's their instinct. It's just part of their being. I don't care what you think you do. I met a lion tamer one time. He was a very good lion tamer. He had about 8 lions in his show, and I talked to him about that. I said, he loved those lions. He said they are my children. You know, he had names. They all had names. I mean, they loved him. But you know what he told me? No matter how much I love them, no matter what, I can never trust them because one moment they could turn. They could turn. And eat you up. That's it.
Yeah.
So you can't trust any kind of a wild animal. You got to understand their wild nature is ingrained in them. It's gonna always be there, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's like these people that get pet squirrels and raccoons and foxes. Eventually, one day they're gonna bite you or something. They're gonna go back to their wild nature. That's just, especially if they get scared or they feel threatened or something. They're gonna revert back to that. So you've got to understand that part of what you're dealing with. Definitely.
Right.
Well, it's the same with the human species.
Lord.
I mean, we want to survive also. I mean, if you take all this away from us, say our house and all our comfort that we have, put us out in nature, just like the feral people, that's all they want to do is survive, and they'll attack and defend themselves for everything they can to keep what they got.
That's very true, Gerald. All animals have that capability. You do whatever it takes. Nothing's off the table to survive. That's how you survive. That's how the strongest survive. It's the natural selection thing going on there. If you're weak, if you're hurt, if there's something wrong with you, your odds go way down on survival. And that's why, a lot of these people teaching these survival classes, number one thing is you. Without you, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to survive. Even if other people are depending upon you, you got to take care of you. You got to make sure you're secure, you're okay, you're doing what needs to be done, because that's where it starts with you, if you want to survive. Loch Ness.
Yeah, it looks like the majority. Yeah, it looks like the majority of it is Bigfoot and Dogman, with Loch Ness Monster coming in to the third position.
Third, yeah.
Cynthia and Scott. Yeah, Cynthia and Scott would like to see the Loch Ness Monster. Darcy wants to see the Dogman again. Lori wants to.
I think I'd like to clarify. I would like to meet Dogman from a distance. Okay, a very good distance.
Yeah, is there any cryptids out there that wouldn't want to rip my face off or kill me? I'd like to meet that kind of a cryptid.
Yeah.
The Yowie will give you a Vegemite sandwich.
If it was something like off of the Harry and the Hendersons, then I might be in.
Yeah. I think the Yowie's kind of a laid back guy myself. He's kind of like, where's the shrimp? Is that? Where's the shrimp at? Have some shrimp and I'll show up.
We all think about Sasquatch. We all think about Sasquatch along the shorelines of the West Coast and a lot of the main rivers and stuff. Along the main rivers and stuff.
Would that be Neanderthal man there, Primal Cry? That'd be the original Neanderthal or what? or the Denisovian, whichever, which is named after me, by the way. He was a wild and crazy guy, by the way.
I mean, that's the other thing that you wonder about, the up north, Canada and all the wilderness in Alaska, you hear of all like the hairy man, it's not necessarily Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but they're really vicious and they wipe out.
Feral.
There's that one mining town that it wiped out.
Mm-hmm. And Neanderthal. I've often thought about that, Gerald, that a lot of these sightings, and some people in Russia claim they have seen Neanderthals. They could still be in pockets of the world, these primitive humans existing. Just like we said about earlier, just because you said they're not there anymore doesn't necessarily make that true. And I just wonder, a lot of these stories you hear about the wild man, of course, a lot of them is described as being very hairy, but some of them are not. They've got clothes on or furs, you might say. They're actually described as wild, feral type people. And that's not that far fetched when you think about it. You remember the story of Sawney Bean?
No.
You ever hear about that?
No, what is it?
Sawney Bean was actually a feral family of people that lived in Scotland. They lived in a big cave, and the leader of the whole family his name was Sawney Bean. But they were feral people, and they would actually kidnap people off the highways and take them in the cave and steal everything off them, and then kill them and eat them.
No.
And the king of Scotland eventually had to send a regiment of soldiers to that cave to wipe them out. Now, those are feral people now, cannibals. That's wild, but that's true. That really happened. Sounds like something out of a movie. But I think they made a movie about that too, by the way. Sawney Bean was an interesting story.
Well, if you think about it, if you're an indigenous or you're one of the first people, then you start seeing these other races or species come up. I mean, you're going to want to be in the caves or underground, to try to hide and protect yourself from them. And who's to say with all the vast wilderness, and our giant cave systems that there isn't some kind of society or little pockets here and there that we don't know about.
I believe that's true, Gerald, to a certain extent. I think a lot of things may have gone underground in this world at one time, and they're still there, maybe. Like we said before, man can't go under the sea and hide. You can't exist there. But the perfect place for that would be the cave systems. That would be the perfect place to go. And we do know a certain amount. They have found actual cities, cave cities. I think one was found not long ago in Turkey. It would house thousands of people. There were people living underground. Okay. For certain whatever reasons was going on. And here's another thing. Did you know if you encountered a very bad drought, that you could probably survive better in a cave system during that drought than you could on top? Because you got more moisture under the ground, you're out of the sun, you got better chance of survival in the cave systems. Think about that. So it makes sense. And if I were going to look for Neanderthal, that's definitely where I'd go. I'd be looking in the cave system for it.
Yeah, just like we were talking before, there's underground rivers and streams, so they would have a water source that would probably pool up inside of a cave or in a cave system, so you can survive that way. And there's all kinds of fungi and mushrooms and all kinds of stuff that would naturally grow in the caves that you could probably eventually get used to in your diet.
Your eyes would adjust to it.
And then you can also, if they had the ability to have fire, then they'd be able to stay warm inside the caves and protected from the outside weather and natural disasters. So they'd probably have a better chance of survival than we would.
And most every cave system has a water system with it too. It sort of has there are vast underground lakes that they say are some of them the size of the Great Lakes. We don't know what's down there really. But that would be the perfect place to hide. If I were going to try to get away from humanity, what if one day a tribe of Bigfoot showed up on your doorstep and you said, hey, I don't want to mess with these guys. I think I'll go hide or I'll go to the caves and get away from them. It makes perfect sense, as an act of survival.
Right. Then it just makes you wonder about inner Earth. If you're talking about cave systems and societies living, there's all these legends of inner Earth and Shangri-La and.
Mm-hmm. And Tombstone, the feral humans. You saw a little bit of them in the Road Warrior movies, the Mad Max movies. They were really, they were feral to a certain extent. Look at them. I mean, they look like animals. They acted more like animals than human beings. And that's what makes you feral. I believe our ancestors went underground and some parts may remain there today. That's very true, Raven Creek. It's been a theory for many years, that there may be underground kingdoms that we know nothing of, underground races of people. It wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Raven Creek, there are accounts of Wachashawakans, the holy men, the medicine men, especially in the potlatch communities up in northwest Washington, Oregon, and parts of British Columbia, and going out in the middle of nowhere and living feral, and becoming animalistic in nature to make that connection to nature and the environment and to the creation source. They have been spotted numerous times. In fact, there was a group that were hunting for Sasquatch up in the Northwest some time ago, and they came across a Native American holy man, a Wachashawakon, and they experienced that. They said that he stood 6 feet tall plus, wore animal skins, had the unkept hair, and all that. I mean, as feral can be as far as human standards go. And they do this for a period of time, and then they come back to those societies and interact in their societies with this understanding of the environment around their people. So
there are stories like, Tarzan of the apes. He was raised by the apes. Romulus and Remus, I talked about earlier, was raised by wolves. Those were feral people to a certain extent. They were feral that way. And William, there is a legend of a lost Native American tribe that has stayed away from civilization, that still operates as it did 300 years ago, supposedly. They made a movie about that, where they actually encountered this lost Native American tribe. Very much like those natives in South America that they won't talk to, or they're on that island, that they try to distance themselves because they're still in their natural state,
Well, you can't rule out the Nephilim or the giants being part of these legends. I mean, if they're actually Nephilims, they'll have a spiritual, fallen angels, so they'd be able to transform and make you think you're seeing a dog man or whatever other creature, and they would definitely be hiding in caves.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to be talking about that on Demonology Today tomorrow night. I'm going to be doing a show it's called the Demonic Cryptid Connection. And we're going to be talking about the Nephilim. That's who you're talking about there. And yes, definitely the Nephilim would have the ability to shapeshift into anything they want, whatever image they wanted to produce. That's
okay, we are going to do a little bit of a giveaway here. I'm going to do another sticker pack for today. For today, I'm going to do a sticker pack, and it's going to be several different things. It's going to have one of these in it, I believe. It's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. It's going to have this Bigfoot one in it.
Oh yeah.
It's going to have a couple ghosties. Okay.
Alright.
And then, of course, you can't be scary without some kind of Halloween
Oh,
themes.
Oh,
trick
yeah.
or treat.
For a cemetery,
Trick or treat.
which
Yeah.
we all know Bigfoot does trick or treat in cemeteries. We all know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, now, finally, here's a good one for our pranksters last night. I don't think I'll put that one out there. Let's see here. We got the UFO.
Oh
I
yeah.
guess it's sucking
Yeah.
up all the joy. And then we got the of course the gray looking green.
Oh, Green Man.
And then what is complete? No pack of stickers can be complete without your self-respecting skateboard alien. Okay. So we got a complete sticker pack of all there's going to go out to somebody. And the question is, and I usually try to time it about an hour into the podcast, and we're almost there, so I can do this now. The question is, what was the opening cryptid creature that I talked about in this podcast? What was the opening cryptid creature that I talked about in this podcast?
The first one.
You don't have to. Yeah, the first one I mentioned. Yes. And it doesn't have spelling doesn't count, so don't worry about it, okay? I'm not,
Yeah.
I can't spell. I can't even talk half the time, so it doesn't matter.
No, looks like
let's see here.
NCCPP.
Oh, yeah,
Thomas
the
won.
The Darrow people, yeah.
Yeah. Old Thomas won. Okay. Well, let's see here. All right. If I can get up to there. Man, this StreamYard is real slow today. I mean, really slow.
Yeah, I think it's probably cost of Saturday. I'm slow on Saturday. There you go. It's been a long week.
Yeah, I stayed up too late last night.
Yeah. Burning the midnight oil.
I came home and Chiro was watching a live ghost investigation from one of our channels that we follow, and so we stayed up and watched that. It was pretty good.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of those.
Actually, looks like Karen Peterson won that from what I have here.
Oh.
Okay.
She's even got it spelled right. Shunkawarikon.
We have a winner.
Yep, Shunkawarikon.
That's pretty close, Karen. We'll give you that. That's pretty close to the spelling. Yeah.
Yep, she just left off the A.
Yeah.
But yep. Okay, Karen, I'll get those stickers out to you. And to Thomas, brother, I will send you some stuff too. So just give me your mailing address. Well, I'll get with you in Messenger and tell you how to get a hold of me, okay? Unfortunately, Those of you that have my email address know it already, so you can go ahead and use it. I'm not going to be giving that out anymore. There are certain people making threats, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing of it. So, just like last night, so. Anyways, we were going to get into another subject, and this is one that I believe Dennis would really appreciate. In fact, I'm going to show a couple pictures here while I talk. First, we got the dog man picture, and we got the reptilians from the shape-shifting and all that. I really do believe that shape-shifting aliens are the key to solving a lot of the cryptid mystery. I really do. Call it gut instinct, but I really do have a belief in that. Now we're going to talk winged.
Okay, flying cryptids.
Yes, sir. One of your favorites.
Bat boy. I don't mean the boy that brings you the bats during the ball game either.
Yeah, hopefully you don't mean that. Because if he brought a baseball bat to a ball game, it'd be a pretty big one. So, but yeah, that is probably the best picture I've seen drawn wise of what the flying demons look like.
If I were gonna make a movie about a ball team, I would call for the Bat Boy, and he really would be the Bat Boy. That's just me. I'd put him in there. The one from Texas, the real bad boy. That used to be the number one seller for the National Enquirer. Remember that? You always had Bat Boy picture on the front of the National Enquirer. Bat Boy spotted again. They sold a lot of papers that way.
That picture reminds me of the movie The Gargoyles.
I remember one time, William, I walked into the, I used to work at the hospital. I worked at the hospital for about 30 years. And I walked into the x-ray department one day, and some of the girls, the x-ray technicians, they were standing around laughing about something. I said, what's going on, And they had a copy of the National Enquirer. And they said that, and they had a picture in there of an alien baby, And what they were laughing about is it was obvious to them that it was an x-ray of a fetus. That's what it was. That's all it was. It wasn't an alien baby, But National Enquirer didn't care as long as they could sell some copies. That was it.
Yeah, those were the days. Yeah. Those were the days when they had the articles in the National Enquirer about my daughter's pregnant from Bigfoot.
I like the one where they saw Elvis. It was like I think it was 10 years after he died. They had a picture of Elvis through a screen door at somebody's house or something. I said it could be anybody. No, it's Elvis. Yeah, he's alive.
Elvis isn't dead. Gas station too.
Yeah,
Elvis isn't dead. He just went home.
That's my favorite movie about Elvis, Bubba Hotep. You ever seen that, girl?
What is it?
Bubba Hotep, the movie.
No.
Elvis in a nursing home with JFK, by the way. JFK is a black man, by the way. Great movie, hilarious movie. And I like the one part where Elvis, he really is the real Elvis, by the way. And he traded places with the other Elvis, and he lost all his money and fell off the stage and broke his hip and ended up in a nursing home.
Yeah.
But and the fake Elvis is the one that had a heart attack and died, and everybody thought that was the real Elvis. Okay, but anyway, Ozzie Davis plays JFK, and then everybody calls him Mr. President, you know. And he said, Mr. President, I got one question. JFK was a white man, you know, because Ozzie Davis is a white man. You know? He said, that's the beauty of it. They dyed me this color. So, it's all a crazy movie. It's a great movie, Bubba. It's got a lot of bad language in it, so don't play it around Grandma. But it is hilarious. Believe it. And they go up against a soul-eating mummy, Bubba Hotep. He wears a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. He's a mummy, okay? An Egyptian mummy. You got to watch it, girl. You need to get that. Watch it.
I'll have to check that out.
And Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, it is a pretty good movie. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But no, that picture you had up reminds me of the old movie, The Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah. Well, it reminds me of what they described being found in Texas by two brothers that were on their way to work at like 11 o'clock at night. They took a back road in Texas to get to work, and no sooner than about, I don't know, 10 minutes on the road, they saw this thing standing in the middle of the road with its arms stretched out that had wings, and they described it as like a bat face, and it took off as they were slowing down. It took off, and the wings of it, when it flapped down, hit the side mirror of the car and knocked the mirror off of the car, and it took straight off up into the sky. Well, that wasn't the last time they saw it. The following day, they went back, and they took one of their sons with them. So there was 3 guys, and they all had flat. Now, why they didn't take some kind of weapon with them, a baseball bat or anything, anything is beyond me. But they took flashlights, and they went back out there, and sure enough, that thing was up in a tree, about 60 feet up in a tree, and it swooped down at them and chased them back to their car, and went to go and grab the car to lift it up and drop the car. Literally picked the car up, literally about a foot or so off the ground with them in it, and then dropped the car.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was quite the story. Yeah, Jeepers Creepers, Penny Van. That's exactly what that thing looks like, as far as I'm concerned. And
well, that's like the Mothman sightings at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. He's haunting that place. There have been dozens of sightings of something that flies, whether small man or gargoyles or whatever it may be. You hear different descriptions. But there's something definitely going. If I would love to camp out at O'Hare Airport to see what I might concern, because there have been.
Come on, the only thing the only thing that flies over the O'Hare Airport is Chinese weather balloons.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say maybe it's their mayor out there wreaking havoc.
Joe knows all about that. That's what I always thought. It's funny. It was like about a $45,000 missile to take down a $300 Chinese balloon. Okay. Yeah.
That goes right along with $700 hammers they buy all the time.
Don't forget the $1,000 toilet seats. Okay, Darcy says, Dennis, I think we have multiple winged creatures out this way.
That's interesting. Definitely. Keep looking up. You never know what you might see.
That's the weird thing about all the Chicago sightings. You got You got from Mothman to small creatures that look like the gargoyles that would sit on top of people's buildings, and they're happening all over, and it spreads out even past Chicago. They got a map online and Google where people are putting the reports of them, and it spreads out quite a ways.
I talked to a guy one time, and he said that his sister came in. Said she was wise as sheets, scared to death, shaking. Says, "You got to come out here in the front of the house and see something." And he walked out there, and he said, "Honest to gosh, Dennis," said, "was the biggest moth I have ever seen in my life." Said this thing was the size of a hawk, and it was on the side of his house. And said when he walked out and shined the flashlight on it, it flew off. Can you imagine a moth that size? That's scary to think about. It would definitely eat holes in your clothes real quick, big holes.
Yeah, some of the moth man descriptions actually do really look like a giant moth, not just a gargoyle or a big winged creature. They actually really resemble a moth more than a human.
Yeah. That's how I got his name. Of course, you know, the original Mothman was actually, that name was given to him by a reporter, really, because he said, you know, because of the description. We don't really know unless, you know, we can't talk to the actual people that saw it because most of them are gone now, unfortunately. But they had a different description a lot of what, you know, the newspaper. You know, here's the interesting thing about the newspaper guys. Carl Koschak, don't get mad at me, but they tend to put long handles on these things. I mean, I thought I had an interview one time with a guy. I think it was a newspaper. It was in Mississippi or something, and I was talking about Mothman. And when he printed the story, it came out Mossman, like moss on a tree.
Ah.
Oh, where they get these things? Yeah. They don't pay attention or something. I don't know what their problem is. But you can't trust a lot of newspaper accounts, okay? Because they really good at screwing up stuff, especially when it comes to descriptions of things.
Yeah, Moss Man, that reminds me of the old B movie Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He would kind of look like him a little bit. But the big thing about the Mothman, the original description of Mothman, it had no neck. Okay, it really had no neck at all. And these big red and glowing red eyes, and and that's why they said it kind of looked like a moth. It didn't mean that it actually did look like a moth. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
That was the only thing they could think of. You know, because if you look at a moth, it has no neck. You know, in the South, we have another name. We call them candle flies because they get around They used to get around candles and kill themselves. Actually, commit suicide. They get too close to the flame, and it would kill. It would die. You know, burn their wings.
Wonder why they didn't call it Icarus.
Huh?
I wonder why they didn't call them Icaruses.
No, that would have been a good name for them. Probably they didn't know about that legend. Probably. Anyway, the candlefly is really a moth. That's what it is. The moths eat your clothes. You know, they eat little holes in your clothes, unless you have a cedar thing in your closet or something. Cedar repels insects, by the way. That's why your grandmother probably always had a cedar chest. You could put the real valuable stuff in your cedar chest. You didn't have to worry about moths getting to it or ants or anything else getting into it. But I have a privacy fence around my house, and it is made out of cedar. So it's been there for 20 years. It's still standing pretty good. So cedars are really good wood to preserve things. But anyway, the moth that's what the description came up, but they never actually said it looked like a moth, you know. But that was
right.
Close enough. I think it sounds downright demonic, the way it's described and the way of its actions. To me, it's one of those cryptids, Gerald. It kind of runs the line with me between what is it, supernatural, or could it be naturally occurring? Like the werewolf is always lumped in with cryptids, and really it's not a cryptid. It is a supernatural creature. It is a man turning into a supernatural creature, or a woman, in this case maybe. And I've dated something like that. But anyway, um, the whole thing is the supernatural aspect of it. A real true cryptid should not have no supernatural qualities to it that much. You know what I'm saying? There should be more, I think, of a natural occurring thing, like Bigfoot. I'm not gonna say Bigfoot's not supernatural. And he may have some talents we don't know about. Okay, I'd like to interview him on that one day. I'll get him sit down and talk to him about it, get a good interview on it. But anyway, there may be some attributes to some of these things, but I won't say this about the cryptid. He should be about 90% animal or natural occurring thing. When I think of cryptozoology, I think of just like recently, they found another species of frog that they didn't know existed. You know, that's a cryptid. You didn't know was an unknown animal, and you found it. You know, that's what cryptozoology is all about. And the reason why they lump Bigfoot, Dogman, and stuff like that in with cryptozoology is because it's supposed to be an unknown animal. But here's the gist of it: it is known. Okay, so you can't say it's an unknown animal.
Right.
It is known. You know. So what else you gonna call it? So the catchphrase for all this is cryptids. So.
Yeah, they're discovering all kinds of species all the time. We just don't really hear about them. They're in scientific reports or journals, you know, then eventually one makes it out to the mainstream, you know. And but getting back to your Mothman, yeah, it definitely does seem demonic, you know, because it happens around bad circumstances and people talk about being terrorized by them, and they got the red glowing eyes. And we've always said on this show, you know, anything with red eyes seem to be a predator or demonic in nature.
And you know something else, William? Gerald. Something else we need to think about is
I don't have a beard.
Is the fact, okay, is that there he is. There's William. I should have been talking about him while he was gone. But anyway, anyway, the thing about the Mothman is it actually haunts people. It's like a haunting entity. I mean, it messes their lives up. And, you know, for many years, they're haunted by the encounters they have with this creature. So that does sound demonic to me, in many aspects, because that's the way the demonic works. It has that haunting nature to it. It disturbs you spiritually, you know, and that's what I mean by haunting. It disturbs you spiritually and also physically as well, because that's all tied together, you know. But something haunts you like that, it can affect you psychologically too. You know, it can worry you, it can make you nervous, it can make you depressed. And I've heard one interesting facet about a lot of the witnesses of Mothman, especially at the very beginning of that Mothman sighting, was the depression they had from it. You know, and one reason for the depression was, well, everybody's gonna think I'm crazy. Nobody's gonna believe me. You know, that's enough to depress you right there. You know, think about it. So it has not only a spiritual aspect to it where it affects you, but it affects you physically and psychologically, you know. So that is a haunting, okay? Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yes, that just goes right along with what you were saying about the demonic aspect of it, you know, being able to affect you that way, you know, spiritually, and, you know, almost like an oppression.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, but a lot of encounters are that way. People who have had UFO encounters or alien encounters have had that same aspect. It disturbs you. It's something out of the ordinary, something you don't know. And that's that interesting thing that ties into the greatest fear of all, the fear of the unknown.
You know, I was kind of thinking that.
What do we always say about fear, guys? What do we always say about fear? Yeah, what do we always say about fear, guys? Fear always brings that unknown out. It always brings that supernatural element or that paranormal element out into the open, because fear is a magnet for those types of situations. So, you know.
Well, they also got to induce fears. So if they're a shapeshifter or a cryptid that can become any form they want, say it's Mothman or Dogman, whatever, then fear is a big factor and they thrive on it. I mean, anything demonic, they need that fear to survive and to become stronger.
Negative. They feed off the negative. Yeah, that's what. And it's sort of like a perpetual machine. The more negative they get, the more they feed, the stronger they become, and the more the cycle goes on, and it gets worse and worse and worse. That's the way that operates. That's the way the demonic works in that aspect. So that's another thing. The haunting aspect of it. It can create its own negativity, and therefore attracts them even more to you. So it's a bad situation to get into.
Yep.
No,
shout out to Thomas and everybody for the compliments about us knowing everything, but we don't know everything. We're not the experts. We're just a couple of old men out here that have been living our lives vicariously.
I had an old teacher one time, William. You know what he used to say to me? Show me an expert and I'll show you a liar.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way that goes. So don't call me an expert. Okay. I might be a little more knowledgeable, but I'm not an expert. Nobody is in this field. Nobody. That's why I've said so many times to people, there are no experts, okay, in this field. They're just not. Now you might have an expert butterfly collector. You might have a comic book collector who is an expert, but there are no experts in the paranormal field. You can't, because it's such an ongoing, ever-changing field.
Exactly. I agree 150% with that statement. So, but okay, let's see here. Yes, the book of the Oh yeah.
Yeah, John Keel was a real life Indiana Jones. You need to read more of his books that I told you about. That is one of the greatest books he ever wrote. And he lived that life back in the 50s and 60s in India, China. He went all over the world. He was like a modern day Indiana Jones. I've often thought that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and some of them probably got ideas off of this guy, okay? Because he lived it. He lived all of it. And that Jadoo, that's Jadoo. That is the Indian word from India, the Hindu, for magic. And that's what he was after. He went to India and those places to learn from the fakers, the Indian magicians, the holy men who could supposedly do stuff. He went to Nepal. He actually, in the book, he got after the Yeti. He was tracking the Yeti. He actually saw the Yeti. And by the way, I want to say this. This is sort of something interesting. I'm going to throw this out here. I'm going to get some feedback for this, I'm sure, some flack. But the Yeti is not white. The Yeti, the abominable snowman, is actually brown. But the reason why his description was white, and there may be some albinos, okay, I'm not going to argue the point on that. But the reason they say that he appears white is because of snow being on him, getting the higher elevations. But most of the Yeti are in the lower elevations of the mountains.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Now you're probably going to tell me that there's no red-nosed reindeer or Santa Clauses next.
That's a bumble. I hunt bumbles, okay? You take their teeth out, you got them. Those bumbles.
Yeah. At least they bounce.
Best thing about a bumble is they bounce. Yep, they bounce. Bumbles bounce.
Bumbles is only good for hanging stars on the Christmas tree, anyway. There you go.
So I was thinking earlier, what would make a good book or a movie is what What if you had a Dracula or a vampire that instead of turning into a bat when it flies, it turns into a Mothman?
That'd be interesting, yeah.
That
You know, a lot of
probably
people have
wouldn't be that far
speculated.
off.
A lot of people speculated the original Mothman was a vampire.
An energy vampire.
A lot of those out there.
Well, they think
Yeah,
a
we
lot of
flew them
people
last
think
night.
anything that flies could be a vampire. Is what they think.
But no, a vampire, you know, if you would think about it, be able to transform into a Mothman, it'd be closer to the human form or the form that he normally is.
That of a bat. Well, you know, the original vampire can change into wolves. So there you go. You got a shapeshifter that can change into wolves, a fog, into rats, can change into bats. Supposedly can do shapeshift into all kinds of different things. The reason being that the vampire basically is 100% demonic. And demonic can take on any image it wants. So there you go. That's the vampire. You know?
Well, there you go, too, though. There's the other question to the, or the other solution to the question we had a while back in this podcast about, you know, shape-shifting. You know, there's only one entity other than, like, you know, a man transforming into a werewolf, you know, is the vampire. So you either have alien or vampire, you know. Those are the two entities. And demons do it too. We all know demons do it. So that's no problem there. We know that. That's
and the
foregone conclusion there.
The interesting thing about the shape shifting abilities of the demons is they can take on any shape. Some other things are limited, like the werewolf only turns into a wolf. You know, some of these things are limited in what they can shape shift, but the demonic is all wide open with them.
Yeah. And don't you find it fascinating? That how a lot of the alien encounters are described as demonic?
Oh yeah, there have been many attributes of it. I mean, people have actually reported the smell of sulfur and brimstone on spaceships, flying saucers they've been abducted on. The aliens have glowing red eyes sometimes. What does that tell you? I mean, there are many demonic attributes connected to UFOs and stuff like that. That'd be some good research for you, Gerald. The aspects of the demonic and the UFOs. There have been a lot of books written on that. You can get into a lot of research. Since you're interested in UFOs, that would be a great field to go into and talk about. Because there's a lot of attributes of the demonic in these UFO sightings and encounters with the aliens and stuff. Look at the weird stuff they're doing to cattle and human mutilations. If that's not downright demonic, I don't know what is. You know,
Right.
You got some very interesting research there, buddy.
Yeah. The bad
definitely.
thing about me, though, is that, you know, I start off looking up connections like that, and pretty soon I'm down a rabbit hole looking up some other weird stuff.
There's a lot of rabbit holes.
Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. I've been down so many rabbit holes with my reading glasses.
It ain't funny.
I've been down so many rabbit holes.
You follow that rabbit trail, you never know where you're going to end up. Just ask Alice, okay?
Well, I've never been to Wonderland yet, so I'm obviously picking the wrong ones.
No, but you're in Weirdo Land now.
That happens. Definitely.
Oh, look at that. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is in the house. I had a guy tell me the other day, "Oh, you're not an Indian without a headdress." He says, "You don't have a headdress." I said, "Really?" I don't have a headdress. I said, you don't very well. So I whipped out my porcupine quill.
Ah, that's not
This
the.
thing is.
That's
This
not
thing has seen
the.
better days.
That's not the Native American tribe from Japan, is it? Or China? I think they have a tribe in China now.
No, it's actually well, here I'll show you. God, it's been so long since I had this on. I got it in my bundle here. Spread it out. Yeah, it's a little stiff there, but once it's spread out,
okay. Yeah.
Of course, it goes on the head. You know, that's how they wear them. You know.
Oh yeah. So, yeah.
But yeah, I said, I got a headdress. Here's your stinking headdress.
The closest thing I had to that was back in the 70s when you used to wear the cowboy hats with the feathers around the brim.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you could buy the headdresses. You go to places like Cherokee, North Carolina, places like that for the tourists, you know. You can buy the headdress and it always had a little tag in there, made in China, you know, on it. So we always said they had a tribe in China doing that stuff for them, you know.
Yeah. But no, as a kid, we would be able to go up to Starved Rock here in Illinois, you know, where the native people were trapped up on the rock and starved to death by the troops, and we would go. Mom and Dad would take us up there, and they would have the local natives, Native Americans there, and they were in full outfits, you know, head dressed all the way down to their boots with the bells on them, doing the dances and the ceremonies right there at the lodge, and it was fascinating.
I've attended a lot of those. Yeah, it's always fascinating. Yeah.
If I can fit them into the envelopes that I'll be sending out with the sticker packs to Karen and Tom, I decided to go ahead and put a couple. They're old, like, remember the postcards people used to send back in the 70s and the 80s and all that? You know, you get yourself a 3-cent stamp, stick it on it, stick it in the mail. You know, well, I've got some Native American ones.
Oh, okay.
That I'm going to be sending.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to be sending to.
Yeah, that's the old.
And they're the old style. They're, you know, yeah. So I'll probably, if I can fit it in the envelopes, if I can find the right envelopes, and I'll be mailing those to the Karen and Tom also as a gift. So, and then I'll do the same next Saturday too.
What do you think about that lady from the Academy Award thing? You heard about that? That she, shocking little feather or something. It turned out she was not Native American at all. Did you hear about that, Wade?
No, I didn't.
She's the one that accepted the Marlon Brando's Academy Award, you know. And
the one where John Wayne, they had to hold him back.
She actually was not Native American, but yeah, she's appropriating that culture for what, making herself famous, I guess, or whatever. That's crazy stuff, man. That's kind of like Elizabeth Warren, you know.
Right, Dennis? Is that the one where John Wayne was going to go out on stage and drag her off for impersonating a Native American because it was offensive?
Well, they didn't drag her off, but they
no, John Wayne wanted to go out on stage and drag her off stage, and they held him back.
He wanted the security guards to drag her off, but she turned out she was fake as a $3 bill. You know, she wasn't the real deal. That makes you mad, you know, when people do stuff like that.
Well, you know, and here's the thing too. I'm gonna nip this in the bud right now to everybody. Okay. Being Native American blood, I've got Native American blood on my mother's side. Okay, my mother was Cherokee and Shawnee, and Irish. Okay, which is not uncommon along the Appalachian Trail, by the way. Having the Irish mixture in with Native Americans. and on my father's side was Welsh and Native American and something else. But my father was said to be Oglala Lakota Sioux, okay, which is what he taught me my whole life, growing up, telling me the stories and stuff. Now, I've got a couple people in the family that say, oh, no, 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 no. And they're half siblings, okay? They're half siblings, and they're in the family, and they're saying, oh, Dad didn't have American blood in him. I did an ancestral DNA test. Well, you know what? We didn't have the same dad. So, that nips it in the bud right there. Also, when you have a DNA test, if it comes up Asian, guess what? Guess what is connected to the Asian lineage and bloodline? You guessed it, Native American. Okay? So, don't count out anybody's faith in what they are. If somebody can claim to be non-binary, then somebody can claim to be Native American, because we've always had the saying that being Native American isn't about how much blood quota you have. It's about what's in here, about what's in your heart. Okay? So if that woman went up on a stage with a pure heart, lived her life as close to being Native American as she could at the time, then, God bless her for doing that, because there are so many people out there that are taken into culture and taught the old ways. Okay, because for the longest time, our young people didn't want to learn the old ways. We had outside people coming into our ceremonies, okay? And still today we have that, okay? It doesn't make them any less Native American than I am, or that Graham Greene is, okay? It really doesn't. Being Native American is what's in the heart, and that's all it is, okay? It's a way of life. It's a way of living, like I've always said, with reverence and respect for everything and everyone. Okay? So if she claimed to be Native American, then God bless her for claiming it, man, because you know what? I'm proud of every damn drop I've got in me, and I'll take that to my grave. So, all right. Now that my preaching is over, let's get back into the gist of things. There is a subject I wanted to show you guys that I was curious in your thoughts of. I don't know if you guys actually know too much about it, but the rake and the pale crawlers and stuff. What do you all think about them?
Well, the actual rake began online, sort of like the Slender Man. It was a creepypasta thing. It was originally thought of just for a creepy story. The rake actually did not exist until creepypasta invented it. The pale crawler, however, has been supposedly sighted for many, many years, way before the internet ever existed. I kind of go with the pale crawler more so than the rake. The reason he was named the rake, of course, was his long, slender fingers, claws, or whatever you want to call them. And he could grab people with them like it was as wide as a rake, a yard rake, thing. But he actually began on Creepypasta, which is a website where they invented a lot of creepy, spooky, scary stories. That's where Slender Man was invented. But I've often said the demonic is good at appropriating images. They get an image and use it for their own purposes, which is why I say Slender Man, for all intents and purposes, now probably really exists demonically because they use that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they don't use the rake as well for those purposes. But I think the rake and the pale crawlers may be two different things here.
The picture that was up would remind me of a creature or whatever it is that would live in caves or underground, just because of the way the skin is and the complexion. And then it would only come out at night because it's used to living in dark caves. And that's just what I get a picture of when I see that.
Well, according to some witnesses, the pale crawler has been seen in cave systems. Now, the Fresno crawler, which is a different thing altogether, is one of the weirdest looking things. I don't know if William's got a picture of one of those. Well, they're one of the weirdest looking things, those Fresno crawlers. They look like a pair of legs or something walking around. I don't know what you want to know. Weird. You're talking about a very alien looking thing. It definitely is.
Yeah, I don't have a picture of it. Yeah, I don't have a picture of those, unfortunately. So.
L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons summoned the demon, which was Pan. Let me tell you something about Pan, since we were talking about wild men earlier. Pan is the god of nature, the Greek god of nature. He plays a flute and he has goat legs and he's half man, half goat. He's the original goat man, by the way. And I've often wondered, a lot of people that supposedly see goat man, if that's not really Pan that they're talking about, whether they know it is or not, I don't know. But that's an interesting thing on that. But wish I had a picture of that Fresno crawler. That is weird. I think our friend Jessica Jones did a show on that. Very interesting looking thing. But it was actually caught on camera on them walking, 2 or 3 of them walking down through somebody's yard or something. The pale crawler, here's the interesting thing about the pale crawler. They're supposed to move what we call sporadically. They can be like, they're moving like through time and space. You can spot them maybe 20 feet away. Next thing you know, they're like 6 foot away from you. They move sporadically, like almost statically, like as if they're moving through some kind of portal or time and space kind of a thing. That's the interesting thing about the pale crawlers. And here's another thing. They almost move like a sloth. You know what a sloth is and how slow they move. Sloths live in somebody else's time and not ours, by the way. But they move very slowly and everything. So does the pale crawler. But when he goes to move, it can be tremendously fast.
Yeah. I think I can be called a sloth every now and then. I like Bigfoot Michigan Rob's question.
Hey, William and Dennis, what cryptid or demon is a ghoul or grave robber classified? A ghoul is a supernatural creature that is supposed to be somewhat demonic. It's sort of what you would term it. It would not be a cryptid. You would probably call it a demonic monster. Because here's the interesting thing about a ghoul. 9 times out of 10 cases, the ghoul was probably once human and is no longer human. It's more kind of like the vampire. It is more demonically inclined, and it feasts and lives or exists off of the bodies of the dead. It's a cannibalistic thing. It is, and it will eat live people if it can't find dead people, supposedly. But the ghouls haunt cemeteries. That's their main thing. And here's the interesting thing about the ghoul, and I've said this before about demons. Demons are found in number 1 place that you find demons. Cemeteries. Places of the dead.
Yep. Or old churches.
Definitely find the ghoul.
Old abandoned churches also are a good place for demon hunting, demonic entities. So, I personally...
One of the worst demonic places Ed and Lorraine Warren ever investigated, William, was a mortuary, by the way.
Yep.
It almost got Ed killed.
Now, for me, growing up, a ghoul would be anything from a vampire to a wolf man to a a mummy to a zombie, anything like that, like you said, that were once human and can transform or did transform into something else that was on the demonic side. And a grave robber could be a henchman for any of those entities, you know, to get DNA or get your soul, whatever they're trying to get out of the grave. And we had a picture of it not too long ago where it was like a dog man digging up graves. So it wasn't necessarily even a human.
I say the smell is what is attracting the dog man to the graves, the smell of the decaying body. And here's the interesting thing, and I've done a lot of research on dog man sightings in cemeteries. Here's the interesting thing. Most of these graves that have been dug up, they come to find out later, these people were not prepared. In other words, they didn't have the formaldehyde in them and all that. They were just put in the ground. And so they were decaying naturally, and this attracted supposedly the dog man to the smell. And even regular dogs have been known to dig up these graves because of the smell. In law enforcement, we had cadaver dogs. They could smell dead bodies buried, you know. So you got that aspect of it too. But now the name ghoul is Arabic, comes from Arabia. And ghoul actually is Arabic for demon.
My question is, did I just hear G say the word wolf man, as in wolf man?
not Wolfman Jack, but yeah, Wolfman.
Wolfman Jack.
Wolf. It's a wolf man. Catch that wascally wolf.
Like a dog. Kind of like a dog says wolf.
Kind of like the G dog.
There's a couple abnormalities behind you this so far, G. Just so you know.
Yeah, we're starting to go through all of our videos of our live broadcasts, and just the one the other night, you know, when you were in our chat, you know, somebody pointed out that they heard a voice, you know, that said little boy, and people are seeing faces in the pistol painting, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah. So we're going to look into that and maybe do a session on one of our shows, you know, one of our night owl editions at midnight, and see if we can't get some more stuff going on.
That sounds good. That sounds like it'd be interesting. Yeah, I had that overwhelming feeling that there's that little boy there and the old man. So, but I didn't have any feelings of anything being malevolent. So, don't worry about that part of it. But
yeah, we haven't had that feeling either here. You know, like I said, we haven't had any poltergeist activity or any kind of demonic stuff going on at the house at all. And actually, since we did the live broadcast, it's the first time we've ever had anything come out that we've noticed, because the camera's picking it up and not our natural eye.
Well, you know, when you talk about the paranormal, Gerald, you attract certain things sometimes. They show up.
Yeah, I'm definitely weird enough to have an attraction like that, I guess.
Yeah, the more you pay attention to them, the more you mention them, or the more you're thinking about them, the more likely they are to show up. You know, it's like that old saying, speak of the devil and he will appear.
They're around us all the time.
Like
right.
It just depends on if we interact with them. They're around us all the time. I mean, you know, I can take you guys into a room and it'll be 75 degrees in there, you know, and muggy, and or 80 degrees and muggy. And by the time I just take you walking around each corner of the room, by the time we're done, it's dropped 25 degrees. You know, so I mean, you know, Yeah, it's it is what it is. It's just it's just a change of worlds. It really is, honestly. And one thing that we've got to remember is we don't want to live forever in a disease susceptible body, a body that falls apart. So, and through my research, I've found over the years, especially since I've been ill, that it's a better place than where we are right now. So, I mean, it is what it is. They're always around us. Just because something isn't in a physical form, a flesh and bone form, doesn't mean they're not with us ever.
Right.
So
Since me and Chiro,
yeah,
we're trying to raise our consciousness, and try to raise our frequency. I think stuff are starting to become more visible to us, and
You look at the
it,
spiritual eyes. You use the spiritual eyes, to pierce the veil as your goes on. You have to look beyond that. And it's there. Just because you don't see it all the time does not mean it's not there. It's always around us, I think. We just get glimpses every now and then of it.
well, that's why we
very
named our
true.
show "Piercing the Veil" because that's what we're looking into. All aspects of the supernatural, spiritual side, and wanting to glimpse and wanting to see what's on the other side. And what are they trying to tell us? And I think because we are trying to raise our consciousness, that these things may be attracting to us because we're all about love and care and giving out to the universe and our atmosphere. Because so maybe they're attracted to us because they want help or need help, not necessarily demonic or malicious entity.
Well, not everything is evil, No. There's a lot of there's good spirits out there too, There's bad spirits, we understand that, but there's good spirits too.
Yeah, true. I see Tom and a couple people are talking about the China in the chat and how everything's outsourced there. That is probably going to be the saving grace, to tell you the truth, all the outsourcing to China, because they would stand, if they started a nuclear war or a world war, in my opinion, and newsworthy opinion, I hope, I believe that they would not run the risk of losing billions upon billions of dollars every year in sales. And so you have to consider that in the factor too. That's why a lot of this he said, she said, bullying tactics is going on behind the scenes and all that. You know, if we were to go to world war, nuclear war, nobody would have a good outcome. Okay, nobody would. So, and the spirits know that. The spirit world knows exactly what we're going through. That some of them even know what we're going through before we know we're going through it. So, we have to consider all aspects of how we live our lives on a daily basis. When I say not only respect everything with reverence and walk in beauty, that means you respect the spirit world too. That means you respect every dimension, every realm. Respect every living creature in every dimension and every realm. Okay, whether it's in a flesh and bone body or not, you have to respect it. If you don't have that respect, you won't have that connection. And if you don't have that connection, your frequency is not going to go up. It's going to stay the same or go down. You'll never escape this 3D world. So that's just my opinion, guys. So piece of advice. All right. We freeze up.
I think Lori is talking about the pale crawlers there. There have been a lot of pale crawlers sighted supposedly in cave systems, especially the eyes. They have very luminous eyes, which you saw in that picture. That would be the perfect kind of eyes to have in a cave system, if you think about it. Ghouls eat dead bodies, yes ma'am, they certainly do. That's what they exist on. They once were human beings, but they're more demonically corrupted now, and so they're lost souls. They're evil, they're completely corrupted, and they live off of death and corruption. They're basically demons. Well, there's a lot of that happens there. Family gatherings, definitely. You want to find some demons? Go to Washington, D.C. Okay, there's plenty of them there.
Oh, come on now. Some of them are perfect angels. You know, they'll tell you themselves.
I only have to go as far as Chicago.
Oh. Oh, man. Oh, we are so in trouble.
You know, the interesting thing, I was just thinking about it. Ghouls in Arabia, and where they originated at, are actually found in cave systems over there, along with the jinn. You know about the jinn? They're sort of demons too. The jinn, very trickster type spirits as well. The genies, actually, like genie in the bottle. The jinn also exists in caves. So there's a lot of this connection, like Williams always did, and I have to, about the connections there, There's a lot of connections of this stuff going on. You keep running into that. Wolf or wolves. There's an L in there, okay? A wolf. It's kind of like the word cavalry and cavalry. People get that mixed up. Calvary is where Jesus died. That's an L in there. Cavalry, Cavalry, is like a troop of soldiers. Cavalry, not Calvary. There's an L in it. People mix that one up a lot too. It's the sounding phonetically. It messes people up. When a wolf barks and is aware of it, they consider it a werewolf. There you go. Let's hope they're not. And nowadays they would also even be called a woke wolf.
Oh, Chirio says the voice said young boy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really if you go to that.
Let me tell you this.
It's really clear.
It's been my experience that sometimes in certain locations, we call these drifting spirits. They be passing through kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? They're not actually haunting spirits. Like I said, we were talking about earlier about Mothman and stuff haunting people. When you haunt, it means you stay in that general location usually. There's something about it. But then you have spirits that are drifting, sort of. They pass through, You might pick up on that once in a while. I heard a lot of people that do seances say that happens to them when they get these drifting spirits.
Yeah, because it's been said that even like Civil War battles where the dead will retrace their steps, and your house could just happily be built on a war field, and so you'll have them marching through your living room or your house just because that was what they did. What they did in real life or in their natural world, and in their spirit world, they're reliving that or replaying it.
Well, a lot of these hauntings, Gerald, are residual. It's just like a time thing, a time slip. They're just, like you're talking about marching soldiers. They've seen this at Gettysburg. You see a line of soldiers through the trees. They don't interact with you, and you don't interact with them. It's just like watching a film or a movie. You're seeing something. I think it's sort of a time slip. Is what it basically really is. I've ran into a lot of residual hauntings, and they may be just sounds. They can sometimes be smells, but they can be sightings as well. But it's still spooky nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? It's still unsettling to run into it. But they won't interact with you. That's the number one thing about the residual. They won't interact with you. They won't acknowledge that you're there. Although you may see them, it's like they can't see you.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, it happens both ways. When time and space has a memory where it just replays over and over. And sometimes it could be the spirit itself replaying what it did in life. And then you have the other ones where actually like you just said, a time slip where you're actually piercing into their dimension and they can see you and you can see them.
Oh, we have to remember that we can, as human beings, are so flawed that we have a limited visibility and a limited hearing. I mean, we can only see between 430 and 770 terahertz. So,
and here,
that's a minute, that's a minute part of the scale on the whole spectrum of the visual scale. Then we we can hear what 20 hertz to 220 kilohertz. So I mean,
sometimes what you William, sometimes what you can't see and hear, you can feel it though. You pick up on it. There's sensitivity to it,
and that's where enhancing your sensitivity comes into play when you're dealing with things like that. There are certain ways to enhance your abilities to sense things and to be empathic in your nature, to where you can actually physically feel things. You'll feel nauseated if somebody died of an illness. You feel a head wound if somebody was shot in the head. That's how it starts. That's how it starts to build, and then you build on top of that into the visual aspect of it. Clearing your mind and clearing your pineal gland that's calcified up is the best way to do it. And I will say this: I did that cleansing, a Native American cleansing, probably about 2 months ago, of my pineal gland, and a certain prayer and a certain visualization. And since I've done that, I have been able to not second guess what I'm seeing. That what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing, and I'm positive of it. So, that being said, everybody, if you can, the best thing to do when you got to clear yourself is to ground yourself. You got to make that connection to the world around you. You have to. If you don't have that connection to the world around you, you're not going to have a connection to seeing the paranormal aspect of things, seeing the supernatural aspect of things, seeing the cryptid aspect of things. You're not gonna. You have to open yourself up to the world around you. Stop, for instance, and watch that bee in that flower. Watch how it takes the nectar from the flower and uses it for its own nourishment and takes the rest back to the hive. That is what we are supposed to learn. Just like that ant carrying that piece of whatever garbage or something to the ant colony, in a line. You lay something in front of that ant's going to stop, but that ant will eventually find its way around it or over it. Okay, nothing's going to stop that ant from getting to the colony. Okay, that's what we're supposed to experience in this life. The eagle, when you see a bald eagle coming down out of the clear blue sky into a lake or a pond and grabbing that salmon up in its talon and taking it back off into the air and watching that beautiful flapping of the as it soars up to the sky. That's what life is. That's the connection we need to make. Those are the things that we're supposed to feel. Every time something like that happens in nature, we're supposed to feel it and hear. Okay. Every time we see somebody that's cured of a disease, we're supposed to feel it in here. Okay. That's what being human is all about. We have to have that connection. Otherwise, we're not going to grow. We're not going to increase our vibrational frequencies and all that. And we're not going to see things. We're not going to experience the paranormal or the supernatural or the cryptid. It won't happen. So, okay, I'm done again. Anyways, I think that's a good.
I don't know. I don't know if the rake is vampiric or not. It doesn't have a lot of the vampire attributes. I'd like to explore that more. I'd like to catch a rake and find out for sure. But there is that possibility. But I don't see them being too much in vampiric type thing in that aspect. I feel like rake is more the rakes and the pale crawlers are more of a underground dweller type thing, you know, to me.
I'm sorry. I was just reading a comment that somebody had sent. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it on air. It's funny, though. Has to do with a rake and other garden tools. But anyways, I think we're going to leave it at that. We're at our 2-hour mark. It's been great. We've covered a vast range of subjects today. And in fact, I don't even think we have one for tomorrow, but we're going to keep on going. So I think we should probably start off tomorrow with something a little bit less scary. Let's get into the fairy, the sprite, type of a thing to start with.
Leprechauns are always
leprechauns and stuff like that. Yeah. And from there, we always go off the rails, guys. So, come back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we'll get back to it. Okay. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here. Penny Van, Joshua, Lori, Darcy, Karen, Tombstone, Tom, Bigfoot Michigan, Rob, Blondes and Booze, Tracy, my lovely wife, and Shannon, and just everybody, Scott, Joey Z. Wow, I can't remember. Let's see. There was a lot of them today, and we had a couple new people too, and I'm glad to see that. I really am. I'm very glad to see that. Raven Arms, thank you. Chiro, Steven, can't forget Steven, my brother from my Arizona mother. Yeah, Joshua Dixon, North Carolina Cryptids and Paranormal Project. Let's see. Who else we got in the house? Let's see. Next starting lineup is West Coast Dogman Project, Mr. Shane. Good love a young man like my own son. Let's see here. Let's see. Yep, and there's Shannon. Okay. Corey Barnes, Charles Rudd. Good to see you, my brother. All right. Let's. Who else we got? We got Angelique in the house. We got. Sorry, I'm going through the whole list. It may take a while because I'm going to say hello, goodbye, everybody, all at once. I guess that's as far back as I can go. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. That's as far back as StreamYard will let me go. So I want to thank you. Thank you for watching. Please like, heart, and share this out. Share this out as much as you can. Get the algorithm up. Subscribe to the channel, a YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, Twitch. And let's see here. In fact, I'll put this up as I'm saying that. And just, question everything, guys. Remember, you guys are Weirdo Warriors now in the chat. That's our group. We're the Weirdo Warriors. Ain't gonna find nobody weirder than me. So, I'm glad to wear that hat. So I question everything. I don't take everything for granted that happens on a daily basis. There's reasons for it. Even illnesses. So please, the struggles of daily life bring you down. Okay, know that you're part of a very good family. All right, and we will see you all in the morning. And I want to give Gerald and us a chance to tell you a little bit about where you can find them at. Okay.
So go ahead, Gerald. We're on Midwest Night Watchers on YouTube and Facebook. We have a page and a group on Facebook. We use the same name on everything. And our Gmail, you can get a hold of us if you have any questions or any ideas or any comments you'd like to make. Please leave it in the YouTube comments. But if you want to, you can use our Gmail at midwestnightwatchers@gmail.com. And then on Piercing the Veil this Sunday, we are going to have Marty, the Nano boss, and she was in your chat today. So we're going to have her on Sunday at 6 p.m. Central. And then following me is Dennis.
My show will be on tomorrow Sunday night at 9 o'clock p.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time. It's demonology today, and the topic this week is going to be the demonic cryptid connection. It'll be interesting.
All right, and I'd like to give a personal shout out to D.A. Roberts, if you can. He's got a great program on. He in his podcast, I think he does it Wednesday nights and Saturday nights. And they've got some really good subject matter. If you guys can catch him and his crew, Robbie Rains and Doc, can't forget little Doc Holiday from Colorado. So yeah, definitely catch them. And I'm going to put a couple things up here before we close this out. I want to give a shout out to my brother, Doug Hychek. And, I told him that I would back him in anything he did, and he's doing it. And he's doing it again. And let me get that comment down. So you can read that. Anyways, he's doing Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2, and he's got a Kickstarter account. You can get it up above the link up above there, kickstarter.com/projects/hijack/Legend Meets Science 2. If you want to donate anything to help him out for that project, or just give him some support, tell him Nighthawk sent you. And we got to give him all the credit and love we can. A lot of this that we do, we don't make money at it. Okay, I don't want you to think that at all. We don't make money at it at all. And Doug has really, really gone out and done some things to improve the whole cryptozoology of things and the paranormal thing for connection to the woo factor. So I support him in anything he does, and his son Alex, very, very fine young man. So that being said, I want to support him, and I guess let's put this up so we can show them what Grandmaster G's insignia looks like, so they can find you on Facebook and all that. There's the insignia. which I'm surprised. If you got a T-shirt like that, there, G, let me know. I'd like to get one off of you because it's got the owl on it, and Tracy loves owls.
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna look at getting stickers and patches and T-shirts and stuff, and probably gonna make if we make stickers, we're gonna have that logo, and we'll send them out to you so you can give them out in your sticker packs too.
cool. All right. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for being here. It's been a great 2 hours, 2 hours and 6 minutes and some odd seconds. So it's been a great show. Val in Southwest PA, good to see you. Everybody, just, be yourselves, question everything, and remember, you're weirdo warriors. And we'll see you in the morning, okay? Thank you.